Hello and welcome to the SciFirst MovieTalk episode. So in this episode, I'll be discussing the 2015 action movie sequel, Furious 7, which is the 7th installment in the main Fast and Furious franchise. This time, directed by newcomer to the series, veteran horror director James Wan. Indeed, the mind behind the Conjuring and Insidious series. At first, that might have seemed a bit of an odd choice for such an established action-adventure series. So, as a disclaimer, as these films are now weaving a more interconnected web as we go along, I may give some spoilers for this film and others in the Fast and Furious series. So please do switch off now if you don't want to hear any plot details for these films at all. Please do come back though when you have watched the films and let me know what you thought of them. I'm always so very eager and interested to know. So, the 7th installment is a direct continuation of the 6th and actually takes place somewhat concurrently with the final scenes of the 3rd 2006 movie, Tokyo Drift, or Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift, acting then both as a sequel in a way to build acting as a sequel and acting as a way to build in further the event. Oh, I should cut this out. But further the events of Tokyo Drift in order to develop the plot line and motivation for this particular installment. Quite ingenious, really. And as I've said many times before in these series of reviews, they could have simply retconned this movie, or the 3rd one. But indeed, they chose to bring it into the family full throttle, so to speak. And indeed, in doing so, it almost becomes the linchpin of the franchise. A clever, if but bold move indeed. Wan chooses to follow Lin's legacy by building not only on the sense of family in a very profound way, but also utilising the team aspect of the films, which had become an important part of the franchise since Fast 5. With this installment bringing them squarely into the spy genre. I mean, that is it now. We are there. With the introduction of a clandestine government organisation headed by the mysterious but charming Mr. Nobody, as played by Kurt Russell. The film also continues some of the threads introduced in the 6th, that being the introduction of Jason Statham into the series. It's starting to feel a little bit more like the Expendables now, but nonetheless, and that was teased at the end of 6. Now, confirmed as playing Deckard Shaw, the older, badder brother of Owen Shaw, as played by Luke Evans, who we met as the villain in the 6th installment. You can see how it's all kind of doing this a little bit now, you know? And of course, Deckard is an ex-Special Forces assassin. This time around, it's personal. Shaw is looking, Deckard Shaw that is now, is looking to get the team that landed his brother in hospital and will let nothing stand in his way in order to seek justice and revenge. Of course, the team indeed was that of one Dominic Dom Toretto, as played by Vin Diesel, who brought down Owen Shaw during the last movie. We catch up with Dom and his wife, Letty, as played by Michelle Rodriguez, struggling to cope with the fallout of Letty losing her memory, with her finding everything way overpowering and not being able to connect with her life, the life that she once loved. We also catch up with Brian O'Connor, as played by Paul Walker, now settled and living the family life with Dom's sister, Mia Toretto, as played by Jordana Brewster, with the only Fast and Furious thing in his life now being the school run. I mean, hey, don't knock it. Parents dropping their kids off at school, especially after they have just left them there, are some of the craziest drivers that I actually know. And I'm one of them. With a threat to Dom's family, Shaw's vendetta brings the team back together when Mr. Nobody hands them a golden ticket to find Shaw first. If they do an underground mission for him, rescue a hacktivist by the name of Ramsey, as played by, give me a chance here, Nathalie, yeah, I'll go with Nathalie, Emmanuel. Nathalie? I'll go with Nathalie, who has developed a program that can use the Earth surveillance systems to find anybody on the planet within a matter of hours, by the name of God's Eye. Along with Roman Pierce, as played by Tyrese Gibson, and Tej Parker, as played by Chris Ludacris Bridges, the team set forth into an action-packed adventure that finds them basically from Los Angeles all the way through to Abu Dhabi, where the stakes have never been higher. This time, fighting to keep their family safe as well as the fate of the world. Now, this is a notable entry into the franchise for a number of reasons. As I've already said, it squarely brings, even more so, the third entry, Tokyo Drift, into the fold. And indeed even has an appearance, if albeit very briefly, from Lucas Black, who played the main lead, Sheen Boswell, in that instalment. I'm getting a bit tongue-twisted with the names in this one, aren't I? But anyway, it's not going to get any better. It also marks the main debut in the series for Jason Statham, after only a brief cameo at the end of the 6th. And of course, before playing the character of Deckard Shaw further in the 8th instalment, and indeed in his own spin-off movie along with Dwayne Johnson's character DSS agent Luke Hobbs, in the aptly titled Hobbs and Shaw, which we will be reviewing after the 8th one. But the most heartbreaking and poignant thing to note about this film is that it was Paul Walker's last ever. Not only in this franchise, but also the last film that he would actually go on to star in, as he did sadly pass away in a tragic accident during its production. Production was initially halted, but in order to complete the film in Paul's memory, the team used a number of advanced techniques, using both archived footage from some of the previous movies, some of the things that they'd already filmed, and scenes filmed of Walker's brothers, Caleb and Cody, in order to finish his incomplete scenes and give him really a send-off in film like no other that I have seen. And in that, the film is a befitting homage to the character that Walker had created within this series of films. And indeed, with Wan at the helm, it actually ensured, I think, that there was a strong emotional core at the heart of this movie. In fact, one of the strongest to date, with a firm emphasis on family, but not just thrust at us every 5 minutes with Vin Diesel screaming "family" at the camera, just so we know, but done in more subtle ways in this one, especially with regards to Brian and Mia's relationship. Very emotional and very endearing indeed. Wan brings back the series more exotic locations, absolutely, and starts by reintroducing us to the racing world. A nice nod back to the series roots, and indeed the climax takes part through the streets of LA, which really does just help to kind of bring this movie and the story of our team back round full circle, if you know what I mean. There are some big names in this movie, and there are some bigger egos, you know? But despite this, it never really feels like everybody or anybody is vying for attention in a big way, and that it really does work. There are plenty of corny moments to be had, including The Rock's very own Super Hulk moment. But everybody has their 5 minutes in the limelight, you know? It seems fair. It seems established. It does re-establish the emotional connection between the characters, whilst at the same time bringing the new characters into the fold, making them seem like they've been part of this team forever, you know? Ramsey is indeed a great addition to the team's chemistry, and Shaw makes for an excellent villain this time around. Knowing where they take the character is a little bit odd to kind of see him as the villain in this, but it does make sense as far as this outing goes, you know? And he certainly does it with all the charm and no-nonsense that Statham usually brings to his roles. And we do have an interesting twist. What happens when you mess with a villain who's tied to his family as much as Dom is to his? When their family connection is just as strong. Certainly makes for an explosive introduction to the team, you know? Never mess with the family, good or bad. It is fairly well paced when all's said and done. It does take a little bit of while to charm at the start in order to kind of establish where we are with this story. Bring in Shaw and indeed the other villain, who was that? Mose Jakand, who's a mercenary and terrorist, as played by Djimon Hounsou. Hounsou? I told you there'd be more. Anywho, the guy out of Blood Diamond. He was really good in Blood Diamond. Let's face it, we really do not see all that much of it, and that's why I'm forgetting here. This film was really about the confrontations between Shaw and Dom, and in that I didn't mind. That was all part of the fun. But needless to say, having Hounsou, oh, you're going to have to forgive me on that one. The guy out of Blood Diamond, playing Jacan seemed really a bit surplus, you know, and a bit of a wasted opportunity. He could have done a lot more than what he did. But once it does get into the action, it never really lets up. It starts with an absolutely thrilling experience that doesn't really let you catch your breath, which is then followed by much more non-stop, over-the-top stunts, some very nice car chases, and indeed some fantastic muscle face-offs. In fact, this film includes one of my favourite stunts of the franchise to date. Dom and Brian using a Lycan Hypersport, I believe it is, to leap through 3 of the Etihad Towers in Abu Dhabi. It is absolutely mad, but absolutely thrilling at the same time, you know? And not only that, but the cinematography is just simply breathtakingly on point at that moment as they do it, you know? In fact, there are plenty of such stunning, okay, albeit far-fetched, I'm not arguing that, but there's plenty of such moments in this film. It most certainly carries on the series' now growing tradition of extraordinary and impossible feats. That is for certain. It is clear, and like I've said, that we have now squarely entered the spy genre with this entry, going on full-on covert ops, undercover mission, impossible style, you know? They really are having some fun with the formula here, in quite a lot of respects, which does see the more kind of somber mood of the movie lifted with a lot of hijinks, antics, and indeed some fantastic banter between the characters, making this one of the most connected of the franchise in that respect, bar the 5th installment. Overall, this makes for a fantastic and very heartfelt entry into the Fast and Furious franchise, and whilst I don't think it has quite the same energy as the 5th installment, it certainly has one of the most strongest emotional cores of the franchise to date, and indeed is certainly a lot more fun and balanced than the 6th. It certainly doesn't take itself too seriously in most respects, but it does pay homage to the early entries in the franchise in the most endearing of ways, and indeed has one of the truest, dignified and heartfelt exits and tributes to a leaving cast member that I have ever seen committed to film. The film is dedicated to the memory of Paul Walker, and rightly so, in this respect. The tribute paid at the end of the movie, which is set to the award-winning song See You Again by, and here we go, Wiz Khalifa featuring Charlie Puth, is heart-wrenching, but truly moving, and is just so inspirational to the character Walker had played in this series. You know, they're not just saying goodbye to Brian in this either, and that is what makes this so poignant. And it really does manage to bring a tear to my eye. I'm kind of welling up now. Bring a tear to my eye just kind of thinking of that scene at the end. Seeing everything laid out here, along with the music and the words spoken by Vin Diesel, just really does reinforce just how integral to the series Walker was. I mean, he literally wasn't in Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift. He's been in every other movie up to this point. And of course, how much he will be sorely missed. So, that brings me to the end of this episode. Many thanks for watching. I do hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please leave a like. Please do hit that subscribe button for more movie reviews, trailer reactions, and other movie-related content. Absolutely loved having you here at SciFirst MovieTalk, and we would definitely love to have you back. But most of all, just thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.